Hey everyone, and a massive welcome to all the folks from the Junior Entrepreneurs Association tuning in today. Whether you're just sketching out your very first startup or you're scaling an already growing company, there's one absolutely critical piece of the puzzle you just can't ignore: the law. But, here's the thing. We too many new business leaders look at the legal system as just this annoying series of hurdles or roadblocks literally designed to slow them down. Well, in this explainer, we're going to completely reframe that mindset. As you'll see in the gorgeous watercolor illustrations we're using to map this out today, understanding business law isn't about memorizing some dusty textbook. It's about mastering a structural blueprint. It is the very framework that ensures your business's success and longevity.
Seriously, I want you to really think about this for a second. Is business law just an obstacle course you have to painfully dodge and weave through? Or could it actually be your ultimate strategic toolkit? Once you understand the rules of the game, you're not just avoiding penalties, you're learning exactly how to protect your assets, enforce your contracts, and totally outmaneuver risks. By the end of this explainer, I guarantee you'll see why this toolkit is, hands down, your greatest asset. Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to picture business law as your company's structural blueprint. I mean, think about it. A master architect would never try to build a skyscraper without a meticulously drafted schematic, right? So an entrepreneur definitely shouldn't try to build a company without a solid grasp of its legal foundation. This blueprint is exactly what takes a fragile, everyday idea and transforms it into a resilient, lasting enterprise. To master this blueprint, here's our roadmap for today. 1. Blueprint of business law. 2. Reach of federal regulation. 3. Criminal versus civil law. 4. Navigating the court system. 5. Resolving your business disputes. And 6. The entrepreneur legal dashboard.
All right, jumping right into Section 1, Blueprint of Business Law. So, business law is basically the load-bearing foundation of any commercial enterprise. But why do we even have it? Fundamentally, the law is just a system of rules and procedures a community uses to maintain order. In the business world, it dictates how you treat your employees, how you run your day-to-day operations, and how you interact with other companies. It's there to create a reliable, completely predictable environment. And that predictability is the secret sauce. It protects stakeholders and promotes sustained economic growth. Without that structural integrity, the whole system just collapses. Now, this entire structure is organized into a really strict hierarchy, kind of like a giant pyramid. Down at the very bottom, providing the supreme foundation for everything else, we have constitutions. The U.S. Constitution is the absolute supreme law of the land, meaning every single state constitution has to adhere to it. Moving up a level, we've got statutes. You can think of these as the structural framing, the official laws published by federal, state, or local legislatures. And finally, right at the top, we have the granular details, regulations and judicial opinions. These are issued by administrative agencies or set as case law in the courts. Grasping this hierarchy is super helpful because it tells you exactly which rules take priority when you're making big business decisions.
But hey, a structure needs builders, right? And inspectors. The U.S. legal system is built and maintained by 3 distinct branches of government. First, you've got the legislative branch. These are the architects who actually create the laws. Then the executive branch, serving as the enforcers of those laws. And lastly, the judicial branch, who act as the evaluators, interpreting the laws. This balance of power is absolutely critical. It dictates exactly how businesses and individuals have to act, whether they wind up in civil courts, criminal courts, or in arbitration. Moving right along to Section 2, Reach of federal regulation.
Okay, this is a crucial concept. We need to talk about the Commerce Clause. This is a specific clause tucked right into the U.S. Constitution, and it gives Congress the power to regulate commerce with foreign nations, among the states, and with Indian tribes. Crucially, it also stops individual states from messing with interstate commerce. This one single clause is the constitutional heavy lifter. It's been successfully used to justify federal legislation on literally everything from civil rights to environmental protection.
Think of the Commerce Clause as this massive, overarching umbrella of jurisdictions stretching across the entire country. Because almost all modern business involves some form of interstate commerce, whether you're buying supplies from a vendor 3 states away or selling an app globally, this umbrella gives the federal government the green light to step in and set baseline standards for how you operate. Now, what's really interesting is how this overarching federal power translates directly into regulatory scaffolding. Hanging from that massive federal crane are specific administrative agencies that enforce the rules we just talked about. As a business owner, you are interacting with this scaffolding every single day, whether you realize it or not. Let's break down the 3 major areas of this regulatory scaffolding. First up is workplace safety.
which is driven by OSHA regulations. If you have employees, you have to follow their protocols for physical safety on the job. Because, let's be real, nobody wants their exciting new startup to end in a massive safety hazard lawsuit. Second is environmental protection, managed by the EPA. This covers your ecological impact and resource management. And finally, we've got antitrust laws. These are out there actively preventing market monopolies and protecting everyday consumers from unfair practices. This whole scaffolding exists to make sure that while businesses can compete fiercely, they do so fairly and safely. All right, moving to Section 3, criminal versus civil law.
Let's define the playing field, shall we? On one side, we have criminal law. This is your shield. Its entire focus is on protecting society and ensuring public safety. The mechanism here involves policies that define crimes against the public and lay out specific punishments, like hefty fines or even imprisonment. But on the other side, we have civil law. Think of these as the intricate gears of society. Civil law is all about navigating interactions. It deals with people, property, and the complex web of relationships and contracts between them. As an entrepreneur, the vast majority of your legal brainpower is going to be spent keeping these gears turning smoothly in the civil domain.
That brings us to Section 4, navigating the court system.
So you essentially have two totally different court systems running parallel to each other in the US, federal and state. And they handle wildly different types of disputes. Federal courts tackle issues that cross state lines or involve federal law. So we're talking interstate disputes, bankruptcy, federal criminal prosecutions, and intellectual property stuff like patents and copyrights. State courts, on the flip side, are all about localized issues. Intrastate problems, family law, state-level criminal law, and your everyday local commercial disputes. Let's ground this in reality using a jurisdictional matrix. Imagine a shiny new tech company in California that wants to sue a company in New York because they ripped off a software patent. Because it involves a patent, which is a federal issue, and it crosses state lines, that dispute belongs firmly in the federal court system. But conversely, imagine a small, family-owned bakery in Texas suing the restaurant next door for breaching a local delivery contract. That is a localized, intrastate issue, so it belongs squarely in the state court system. Knowing which room your dispute belongs in is literally half the battle.
Next up, Section 5, resolving your business disputes.
When conflicts inevitably arise, you basically have two distinct pathways for dispute resolution. The top path is the civil court pathway. It is a rigid, straight pipeline overseen by a judge. It involves adversarial proceedings, which is a fancy way of saying you are actively fighting the other party. And it almost always ends in a strict, black and white win/loss legal ruling. But check out the bottom path, the ADR pathway. It's looping, it's flexible, and instead of a harsh win/loss binary, it actually aims to end in a collaborative compromise.
So what does ADR stand for? Alternative Dispute Resolution. It is specifically designed to resolve disputes without ever having to step foot inside a courtroom. Instead of a judge hammering down a ruling, a neutral mediator presides over a civilized, loosely controlled discussion between the parties. The goal here is not to totally destroy your opponent, it's to find a mutual compromise. For an entrepreneur, choosing ADR is often way faster, significantly cheaper, and most importantly, it can help you preserve critical business relationships that a brutal court battle would completely shred to pieces. And finally, wrapping it up with Section 6, the Entrepreneur Legal Dashboard. I really want you to mentally install this dashboard into your daily operating routine. Mastering this isn't just about boring compliance checkboxes. It is literally the key to your business's longevity. First, you use this knowledge to mitigate risk and ensure compliance. By understanding that administrative scaffolding like OSHA and the EPA, you avoid nasty penalties and operate safely. Second, you make informed decisions by grasping that hierarchy of rules we covered. Third, you aggressively protect your business interests, leveraging federal jurisdictions to lock down your hard-earned intellectual property. And finally, you navigate disputes effectively. You'll know exactly when to drop the rigid hammer of civil litigation and when to use the collaborative, relationship-saving tools of ADR.
So, we've seen how the law really isn't a barrier to your success. It is the very foundation that makes your success possible in the first place. It is this rich, dynamic blueprint designed to provide order, fairness, and massive opportunity. So, to all the junior entrepreneurs watching out there, I want to leave you with one final vital question. With this legal blueprint now firmly in your hands, how will you strategically build, grow, and protect your business? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I absolutely cannot wait to see what you all build next.